So, welcome everybody. This is going to be a shiur on Shavuot. And before I start the shiur Shavuot, last week I said that I'm going to start giving shiurim lessons on women every week. So I want to continue that trend even for this week, even for Shavuot. So before we start the Shavuot class, let me just say something real quick about women and how it pertains to this week on Shavuot. So when HaShem told Moshe to talk to the Jewish people, the way he addressed them was speak to Bet Yaakov and to Bnei Israel. Rashi asks the question, who's Bet Yaakov and Bnei Israel? It seems like there's two different people here. So the answer was that Bet Yaakov is pertaining to the women, and Bnei Israel is pertaining to the men. HaShem wanted Moshe to speak to the women first, and portray the Torah to them, and then to the men. How come the women first? Because women are, first of all, more loyal when it comes to the Torah, more committed, as we see in a few scenarios we had with the sin of the golden calf. Women did not participate, nor in the sin of the spies towards Israel. Women did not participate in that also. And also they have more of an obligation to teach the Torah to the children at home when they raise the children in their houses. So Hashem wanted Moshe to speak to the women first and then speak to the men. So that is the class for the women. Now we begin the Shavuot class for everyone. Alright? So, like this. The topic I chose for Shavuot is the day the world was changed forever. When the Torah was given to the Jewish people, the Torah was not only given to the Jewish people. Retroactively, the Torah was actually given to the whole world as a whole. It just so happened to be that the Jews were the ones to receive it, yet the whole world benefited from it. So let's start from the beginning. Shavuot is actually my favorite holiday. One of my three favorite holidays is Shavuot, and then Simchat Torah, and Hoshana Rabbah. What is the common denominator of all these three holidays? Is that all these three holidays has something to do with Torah learning. Shavuot and Hoshana Rabbah, we stay up all night to learn Torah. Simchat Torah is a day when we celebrate learning Torah. To me, I find it fascinating that the Torah is not only meant for me, it's meant for the whole world. If it wasn't for the Torah, the whole world would have looked 1,000% differently. And I just want to expound on that a little bit, and we are going to see, and we're going to understand why the Torah is what changed the world. And not only why it changed the world, but why I find the Shavuot to be my favorite holiday, along with Hoshana Rabbah and Simchat Torah. So I'm using my favorite book of holidays, called Seasons of the Soul. This is the book that I use for every one of my holiday shiur. It says here on page 136, at the conclusion of the 6 days of creation, it is written, Hashem created, let's say, darkness and lightness, day 1, and it was good. Hashem created the animals, day 5, and it was good. And it kept going on. Hashem created this, and it was good. Hashem created that, it was good. And he said each day, Hayom Rishon, Hayom Sheni, Hayom Shlishi. But on Friday, and as all of you may know who do Kiddush, we say Yom, and it says in the Pasuk of Bereshit, the Bereshit Perek Aleph, Pasuk Lamed Aleph, Yom Hashishi, and on the 6th day. Rashi asks, how come it adds the letter Hey? How come it says the 6th day? Let's put that question to the side. Also, furthermore, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. That is the first verse of the 5 books of Moses, of Bereshit, of Genesis. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. And then, also the verse, when it says that Hashem spoke to all these things, saying, which is his introduction, the Pasuk introduction to the 10 Commandments, both these verses have, it says over here, 7 words and 28 letters. So the reason for this is to show you that the connection between the creation of the world and the giving of the Torah. And going back to our original question, how come it says Yom HaShishi, the sixth day? It's because Hashem, when created every day and everything in that day of creation, Hashem created everything in condition that the Jews are going to accept the Torah. So Hashem created the animals, saying, I'm going to create all you animals in condition that the Jews accept the Torah. I'm going to create all the vegetation, the plant life, the trees in condition that the Jews accept the Torah. I'm also going to create stars, earth, waters, all in fish, birds, all in condition that the Jews receive and accept the Torah. If chas v'shalom the Jews do not accept the Torah, what will happen? That moment when the Jews will say, it's okay, chas v'shalom, it's okay, it's not for us, we don't want it, the world will cease to exist. No more world, because the Jews did not do what they were supposed to do, accept the Torah. And that's why the word the in front of the Yom HaShishi was included. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. Oh, so how come is the sixth day and not the fifth day and not the fourth day? Because the Jewish people received the Torah on the sixth day of Sivan, which is this month of Sivan. So when Hashem created the sixth day, He said, I'm creating the sixth day in condition of that sixth day. If they don't accept the Torah on that, which is the sixth day of Sivan, which is on Shavuot, if they don't accept the Torah, the whole world will cease to exist. Now, I said in my previous lectures that there may be a moment, where, chas v'shalom, if there won't be a moment of Torah learning anywhere around the world will stop and cease to exist. Hashem needs that Torah learning must be coming out of somebody's mouth anywhere in the world. It could be very possible that at 6 o'clock, while the whole world, well, not the whole world, the whole country is, celebrating Memorial Day, out and about and barbecuing, while the rest of the world, maybe in Israel, Argentina, in Mexico, or in anywhere else in the world, somebody, like I said in my previous year, sneezed, coughed, went to the bathroom break, lunch break, tripped, fell, tied his shoes, all in that moment where there was not one Torah learning going on in the world, except for this shiur that we're having right now. It's very possible that we are, in fact, the ones satiating the whole world. It's very possible. Not only that, if it wasn't, the whole reason being for this world, for Hashem to create this world, is because Hashem wanted to make a vessel for the Torah. So, if the whole world does not become a vessel for Hashem's Torah, there's no point in the world, and Hashem will cease it to exist. This is how important it is to learn Torah. Now, I've been giving shiurim already for Baruch Hashem for about 9 months, 9 to 10 months. I've been giving classes, and I'm always preaching. Learn Torah. It's very important. Do mitzvot. It's very important. Hashem will love you. Hashem will forgive you. It's okay. Learn. But I never actually asked the main question, and nobody even asked me, Baruch Hashem, what exactly is Torah? Now let's ask ourselves, what is Torah? Is it a history book? Possibly. We learn about the history of what happened about Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the history of our exodus of Egypt. We learn a lot about history of what went on in the creation of the world. It could be either a science book. Is it a science book? Maybe. It's maybe a science book. As we know, I quote many places of the book called Coming to Revolution by Rabbi Krohn, where he shows many scientific discoveries that were discovered in modern day history was actually found in the Torah. Nothing heebie-jeebies, no Kabbalah, either in the written Torah or the oral Torah, the Gemara or the Chumash. Flat and simple. Is it a mathematic book, the Torah? Very possible. We have in Masechet Sukkah, where it teaches us what a circumference is and how to build a sukkah in a circular formation. So yeah, it could be a scientific book, a mathematical book. Is it a chemistry book for the chemists? Possibly. It could be for the chemistry, because we have a lecture from Rabbi Mordechai Kraft, Wisdom of the Hebrew Language, and he says that the Lashon HaKodesh language, closest language other than Lashon HaKodesh, is the language of the chemistry. And he dissects each and every word, well, as many words as he can, in Lashon HaKodesh, and how it describes to be like a chemical thing. And you can go ahead and YouTube it. It's all on YouTube. So we see here, Torah here, is it a chemistry book? Is it a science book? Is it a history book? We have all these subjects put into it, but what is it? Like the way I introduced this class was that, then the topic of this class was the day the world changed forever. What is the Torah? When the Torah was given to the Jewish people, the whole world benefited from it. So what is the Torah? The way I see it, as a practical Jew living in the 21st century, to me, the Torah is a manual to the world. For the world to know how to coexist with each other, with itself, it needs a Torah to teach it morals. And over the past week here, I have been searching and asking around many people how, very interesting, how the rest of the world benefit from our Torah. And I found many sources online. You can always Google it yourself if you want. And I have over here about 9 or 10 different examples. Let's begin. This is the Constitutional Rights Foundation website, okay? And they give a bunch of examples how the secular law derives its morals and ethics from the Torah. And a couple of examples what I found amazing to me, and I wrote it down to share with you guys. So the first example that I have here is equality. When HaShem created people, the way He created people, He said, HaShem created mankind in His own image. That means that each person in this world has some sort of image of HaShem. Obviously, some more than others. Clearly, the Jewish people more than the Goyim. Simple fact, everybody agrees, even the Goyim themselves agree, that we are the chosen nation, and we therefore have a closer connection to HaShem. Does not mean that we are better than the Goyim, and does not mean that we're equal to the Goyim, but it means, as a general perspective, that all men and all women, all people are equal in the eyes of HaShem. Obviously, some have more image of God than others, but everybody is equal. And that came into a big, huge equality of today's generation, as we know, women equal to men, so on and so forth, and no one's better than anybody else. We know as we see today. Also, that site also says that women. The site mentions for some reason that women cannot be a witness in Jewish court, which and they kind of like degrade the fact that the Torah does not allow women to be Eidim, witnesses in Jewish court. But I heard a very nice lecture from Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi, and he said the reason why women cannot be witnesses in court is because we are kind of like afraid of the reputation of women in court. What's going to happen? Let's say two women will come to court and they testify that A killed B. If the two women are witnesses, as the halacha, the mitzvah of a judge, the mitzvah of a judge is to cross-examine the witnesses, which are the two women who came and testified. Where were you? What time is it? What was the weather that day? Why were you there? What time did you see it? What were they wearing? A bunch of questions they would ask the woman. I can't concentrate. Need to go over there. A bunch of questions they will ask the woman as the witnesses as how real are you and are you validated? So Guys, can you please mute your phones, please? Thank you. So they'll ask a bunch of questions to the women to see if they are really, in fact, real women, real Adam. And if, God forbid, they are found liars, then the whole court will know, the people around the court will know, and then these women will have a hard time getting married, or they'll have a bad reputation. And we as Jewish people, we value our women, and we want our women to be like princesses and like queens, not involved in kind of like peasant matters, to go to court as witnesses. That's why we don't allow women to be witnesses in court. That's what I just wanted to share that with you. Nothing to do with this conversation, but I felt like it was important to make mention of that. Second is majority rules. I don't know about any other law in any other country, but in American law, it's majority rules. And where does that come from? A lot of times in the Gemara, we have majority rules A, therefore the halacha is like A. Also, we have freedom of religion. Jewish people allows religion, believe it or not. We allow everybody to keep their own religion, so as long as they abide by the 7 rules of Noach, which is, of course, as we may know, that the whole world has to abide by that, non-Jews included. And also the Jews, we do not seek converts. We do not go out there like missionaries to find converts to bring us inside. We say, be what you want to be. Be who you want to be. As long as you follow that HaShem is one, don't curse His name, don't kill, don't eat, and make 7 laws of Noah, but keep your own religion. It's fine. Freedom of religion comes from us. Then we have real estate, called something like in the real estate terms called squatter rights. Squatter rights in legal terms is called presumptive ownership, which means that in New York City in specific, that if a person breaks into a house, for example, and dwells in that house for 10 years, that house legally becomes theirs. If the original owner comes to that house and sees the person who broke in 10 years ago in that house, they have to go through courts and legally evict them. In the Gemara, in Baba Batra, which is in page 28, side A, the Mishnah over there says that the same person has 3 years as a presumptive ownership. Not 10, but 3. Yitro, the parsha of the giving of the 10 Commandments, Moshe's father-in-law, Yitro, came to him and told him the idea of having kind of like court. First, the low-level questions goes to the low-level rabbis. Higher questions, more complicated ones, goes to the higher ones. And in the highest one, if no one can answer these questions, then it goes to the main person, which is you, Moshe Rabbeinu. That will be, you have to take care of that question, the hardest question. Today, we have a certain court system, the judicial court system, the Supreme Court system. The more complicated the case, the more higher up it goes. Coming from the father-in-law of Moshe, that idea. Also, secular Israelis in Israel should be learning, and I think they have to learn the Gemara in order to become lawyers. Another real estate thing is that it's a regulation. They give you a fine if you don't have any guardrails in your house. If somebody, God forbid, falls off a person's balcony who doesn't have any guardrails, that is a violation. That comes from Pasha Kisise in Sefer Devarim, in Perek 22, Pasuk 8, that says, and the Sefer Chinuch mitzvah number 546, to put guardrails around the roofs of your houses, make sure there's no danger. What else? An ox, for example, that gores 3 times. I think that's a Gemara Baba Mitzia. An ox that gores 3 times is considered a violent ox and should be killed. Just like today in America, a dog who's considered a violent dog should be killed also, according to law. And we see from here that there's so much more obviously, but there's so many ethics and morals and laws that are written in secular law, but derived from the Torah. Want me to take her? Let me take her. Maybe she won't scream. Come, yeah, you can join. Okay. You feel better? Okay. Yeah, she just wanted to join us. So we see many places in the secular world, they take and derive their laws and their ethics from the Torah. And clearly, it seems like the Torah, even though the Torah was given to the Jewish people, retroactively the whole world is benefiting from that. If it wasn't for the Torah, imagine being born into the generation of the flood, where there's no morals, killing is a norm, stealing is a norm. Imagine being born in a generation where there's no Torah and everybody around you is in complete chaos. But since today we have the Torah, there are some sort of morals and ethics of the rest of the world. And as we see here, so many cases that I brought down, how many morals and laws that we got that the secular rules got from the Torah. There's also a very useful video on YouTube. It's called "So You Want to Boycott Israel." Over there, the video will teach a person how to boycott Israel. And if you want to boycott Israel, according to this video, what they say is you're not allowed to take certain medicine, not allowed to use certain piece of technology, not allowed to use a computer, cars, cameras. You can't live in certain places because they are helped by Israel. And it goes on for maybe about almost 9 minutes of... 9 minutes of... you're back? And it goes on for about 9 minutes of just saying what Israel has created and what we cannot use in order to boycott Israel. And that video, if anybody wants, I can actually send you the video via WhatsApp, or just go on YouTube and type in "So You Want to Boycott Israel," and it's a 11-year-old video. So they're saying this back then. Imagine what they're saying already now. And Israel, as we may know, is top when it comes to technology, medicine, and biology, and chemistry, and astrology, and so on and so forth. And it actually helps the world to continue living forward. Many of the medicine that we see in pharmacies all say made in Israel. Many of them. And if it doesn't, then we can see to technology-wise how many of the things that we use, cameras, phones, text messages, instant messaging, all from Israel. The softwares, how it all helps the world to grow. And where all this knowledge comes from. Somebody could say, but where does it say in the Torah how to create, for example, instant messaging? Where does it say that? It doesn't say that. But it does give people the sechel, the understanding of how the world works and the powers of the world. And therefore, when I said, is the Torah a science book, a history book, a mathematics book? Maybe not. Though it has these subjects in it, but as a whole, the Torah is more than just those mere subjects. It's actually a guide to your life. Any problem a person would ever have could open the Torah and look at it and literally get the answer. I think it was the Vilna Gaon. He had like a certain formula, and it's practiced today. It's not really recommended to do so because it can bring harm to those who are not worthy enough to do it. But he has a certain formula of, you take a Chumash, 5 books of Moses, the Bible, and you open it a certain number of pages, you go back a certain number of pages, and you open in very random places according to the formula that he gives, and the question that you ask, and wherever you open it to, and that is the answer to what you need in your whatever your question you asked. This is obviously something from the Ruach HaKodesh, from the Divine Spirit, and according to the formula of the Vilna Gaon, it works exactly how you need it to work. But of course, you need to be worthy in order to do it. There are stories, of course, that people have done it and have got their answers, but we just don't want to get involved. The reason why I bring up the story is because I just want to show you how literally it is a guide to every person's life. And just because we can't find it, it's not the Torah's fault. It's actually our fault from being ignorant of not being able to understand the wisdom. We love the Torah so much, but we love you, HaShem, so much. And we understand, as Jews, according to what I've been saying, that not only is the Torah just any of the math or science or history, but rather it is also a guide to our life, where we think we're doing him a favor. In retrospect, we're doing ourselves a favor. We're just getting more knowledge. And now we can understand why my favorite holidays are Shavuot, Hoshana Rabbah, and Simchat Torah. It's because we're celebrating the Torah, learning Torah all night, and celebrating its completion. And these are very important to me, to learn all night and to celebrate the completion, because the world just looks like a different place. A place filled with morals and a place filled with ethics. If a person were to cut off the whole Jewish society and its ideologies from the world, the place would not only look like a third world country, but it would also be chaotic. Murder would be okay, stealing would be okay, and all these things that we think it's not okay to do morally comes from the Torah. And if you think about it, after a year of the 10 plagues in Egypt, and then finally after the 40 days of raining of bread from heaven, and then the well of Miriam following them throughout the desert, and then the miracles of the splitting of the sea, finally receiving the Torah with great thunder, the sound of the shofar blowing, with earth-shattering earthquakes. God himself said, I am God, there's no one else. After all these revelations, and the people, even the most simplest person, reaching in such high prophetic levels that no other prophets has probably even reached, all for HaShem to give over the 10 Commandments. But read the 10 Commandments. Those things are so obvious. Don't kill, don't steal, don't kidnap, don't bear false witness, don't be jealous. But these things are so ABC to us. I thought HaShem will tell us something so mind-blowing of wisdom in the Torah. I thought HaShem was going to give us a whole, this is what you got to do in life, X, Y, and Z mission. But he's just telling us simple rules that we should have been knowing since day one. Some of the things in the Torah, in the 10 Commandments, are even in the 7 mitzvahs, B'nai Noach, of the Noachite rules. So, why is Hashem making such a whole big fuss about the 10 Commandments, which is kind of obvious to us? We should already be knowing these things. It's only coming to show that, yes, even though it's obvious to you, the reason why it is obvious to you is because Hashem commanded it to you. Otherwise, it'll be subjective. For example, if Trump gets up and says, "Thou shall not murder," the whole left side of America will say, how do you know that's the way to go? Maybe you allowed to murder. Maybe you're allowed to murder this way. Maybe you're allowed to murder that way. And there'll be a whole balagan just because of that one thing he said. But because God himself said do not commit murder, then that's how the whole world as a whole knows that murdering is incorrect. It's wrong. It's unethical. If logically thinking about it, what is so wrong with murder? All I'm doing is one person is taking another person, ending his hardships, ending his physical pains, ending his mental pains, his emotional pains, ending what he has to go through in his hardship life, and taking him to the next world, closer to God, with angels, with the deceased relatives. Why am I getting punished for murdering somebody? And contrary, I should be rewarded. I put him closer to Hashem. Isn't that what I would logically think murdering is? No? But yet Hashem comes and says that murdering is unethical. And because Hashem said murder is unethical and immoral, that made it objective, meaning you cannot have your own opinion. It's a fact. And therefore the rest of the world now knows that murdering is illegal. Even when it comes to stealing. Even though I may know stealing is incorrect, but Hashem says stealing is incorrect, that's how I know for a fact stealing is incorrect. For me, it's subjective, but for Hashem, it's objective. And because Hashem said it, that means the whole world now agrees to it, and they're not arguing about it. There are some places in the world that even will cut your hands off if a person would steal. We don't do that in America because we're kind of like a democracy, or so they say we are. But some places in the world actually will cut a person's hands off if they're stealing. That's how strict they are when it comes to stealing. But where did all this morals and ethics come from? The Torah. So when Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, He told the Jewish people, I'm giving you the Torah only because I understand now, I see now according to your fathers, to, which is Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, according to Moshe Rabbeinu, according to you who you are today, and who you will be in the future, in the 21st century, us, you, simpleton Jews, all have a responsibility to be the light upon the nations. We have a responsibility to not only follow the Torah, but to also share the Torah with the rest of the world, to make ethics and morals around the world, so that everybody should derive benefit from that. Yes, some may say that it's not allowed for Goyim to learn Torah. Right. But Goyim, just as they are under the duress of the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach, the 7 laws of Noah, the Noahide laws, but they're also have to abide by the laws, the in-betweens, which is do not embarrass somebody, do not name call somebody, do not speak gossip, slandering about somebody. Goyim are also under the laws of these ethical rules to be a good person. We, on the other hand, have 613 mitzvah because we can bear the responsibility. But the whole world as a whole takes their morals all coming from the Torah. And don't go so far. Even the Christians and the Muslims, the two major, even and Buddha, and they're coming from their ethics, their New Testament all derives from the Old Testament, which is our Chumash. Their morals and ethics all derive from our Shulchan Aruch, our Pirkei Avot, which is all our morals. And like this, we take our message and we spread it throughout the whole world. So when I give the topic Shavuot, the day the world changed forever, I'm meaning it in the most literal sense. Shavuot, 3,300 so years back, the day was when the world was changed forever. Thank you very much for listening, and Chazak Baruch.